Hi guys, it's Sophie. So I wanted to film a kind of TBR update slash haul video today. I've had a few people ask about my TBR and where I am with it, and to be honest, this is the easiest way to show it. For those of you who haven't been around for long enough to kind of know why people are interested in that, gosh, I think it was probably 2017, I reduced my TBR so I had no books left on my TBR from probably about 130, and I've kept my TBR pretty small from that point onwards, but I thought I'd just show you where I am at the moment and talk through the books I have that I haven't read, which is kind of why it's kind of like a bit like a haul, but it isn't loads. So obviously you can see if you go back through my videos how many I had and how I did that, and I'm happy to talk about what it's like living with a very small TBR if people are interested in that. But I thought I'd just show you what I've got on there at the moment, and yeah, just chat through what I'm feeling about them, and just kind of, again, a little bit about how I managed to get to where I am. So I'm currently reading two books, the first of which is Blink by Malcolm Gladwell. I read in October his latest one, which is Talking to Strangers, and I thought I'd pick up some of his older books. So I've read 3 of his books so far and he's written 6, so I've bought Blink, which is one of them, and I bought another one later on. I'm more than halfway through this one. I found this one really quick to read. I guess it is a lot smaller than Talking to Strangers, but I do like the way he writes and what he writes about, and I just think they're a little bit like my mindless non-fiction. Like, I'd pick up like a really pacey book. I think this kind of like pop science-y non-fiction I just absolutely fly through. So yeah, reading Blink at the minute. I'll finish this one off today, I expect. And then the next book that I am currently reading is What I Loved by Siri Hesketh, and I normally choose to read a fiction and a non-fiction at the same time, and I've literally just started this one. I'm like 10 pages in, and I think it might be best read on its own, so I'll see how I go. Sometimes I find I need to read fiction on their own, but I very rarely feel like I need to read a non-fiction on its own. But I'm not sure this is the right one to pair with the Malcolm Gladwell. We'll see how I get on. I did enjoy the very beginning of the book, but as I say, I've only really just dipped into that one. And then the other Malcolm Gladwell one I picked up is one that hasn't had such good reviews, but I was just like feeling like reading that kind of thing at the minute, so I was like, I'm just gonna buy it anyway. And that is David and Goliath, which is talking about underdogs and why we like underdogs and how underdogs work. Obviously I haven't read that one yet. And the next one's one that's been on my TBR for a little bit of time, and that's The Salt Path. I received this one as part of the Books in My Bags campaign for non-fiction for the Readers Awards, and I've just been a bit nervous about this because I've heard so many good things. So that's the only reason I haven't read this one yet, but I will do soon. And yeah, I want to make sure that I don't overhype it and then get really disappointed, but it's on my list, it's staying on my list, and I will get to it soon. And then I have a book that was recommended to me on Twitter by a subscriber, and it's Where the Light Falls, the selected stories of Nancy Hale, edited by Lauren Groff. And apparently Nancy Hale was like a really well-known short story writer whose work now has kind of faded into obscurity, and Lauren Groff, whose writing I do enjoy, has brought those back for today. Haven't started that one yet. And the next one I have, I'm saving for December, and that is Winterlust by Bernard Brunner. I sent this one by Greystone for review all the way over from Canada, but it got kind of munched in the journey, it got very wet. But yeah, it's a book talking all about winter and our relationship with winter, and I thought it would be quite a nice, not Christmassy, because I don't really read that many Christmassy books, but like around Christmas time, so I'm saving this one non-fiction. And the next two I'm mega excited for. Both of these are pre-orders that have come in this month. The first of which is In the Dream House by Carmen Maria Machado, which is a memoir about her time with an abusive partner. The partner was a woman, so we're talking about intimate partner violence between people of the same sex, and I've just heard so many good things about this already, and I kind of like, one of the things I'll talk about later is about how I have to read the books I bought the furthest away in time to read my TBR properly, so I'll talk about that in a sec. But so I've had to hold this one for a minute, but I'm mega excited. And then the last book on my TBR is Galatia 2.2 by Richard Powers, which again I got on pre-order, which is a story about a literature student and a professor, and the professor's trying to see if he can teach humanity to a robot, and he's doing it through feeding in works of great literature, and they kind of see what comes out of a human made of great literature. Really excited for this. Richard Powers obviously wrote the Overstory, and again this came in the post like 3 or 4 days ago, and I'm trying hard not to pick it up quite yet. Yeah, so in total I have 8 books sitting on my TBR, so that is still pretty small, though for me that feels quite big at the minute. I'm used to having kind of 3 or 4, but I've bought quite a few and a few have come in recently, and yeah, I think the biggest thing for me about maintaining that is that I'm so interested in a book when I pick it up, and I think it's going to be like absolutely amazing, and I'm just bouncing off my seat to get the chance to read it. But as time passes, I often lose a lot of that initial buzz, and sometimes when I buy books that come in sooner, they're more buzzy, and I'll go for those first because it satisfies the kind of, oh my goodness, I'm so excited, I need to read it right now feeling that I have. And often that means I'll lose out on the books that I would have really enjoyed had I read them closer to the time. That's the whole impetus behind me having a small TBR. There's no huge complicated factors to it. I have space to have more books on my TBR if I wanted to. It is literally just that I don't think I enjoy books as much if I read them a long time after I've bought them. And it does have to be quite a quick, like within the same month or within the same 2 months, I think, for me to read them and really enjoy them. And I found that when I had a huge TBR, rather than making me feel like I had choice and making me feel like happy to see all the books I could read, I would feel not that interested in them because that feeling had worn off. So that's the main reason I have a small TBR. It is really nice in the fact that I don't feel any pressure from my TBR at all, which was something that I remember feeling, that was a long time ago now, of kind of feeling like, oh my god, when am I ever going to get the chance to read all these? I've bought all these, I've spent my money. I don't feel that ever anymore, that kind of TBR pressure, which is really nice. And in terms of like getting through them, I have a whole video about how I got to like 0 books, but I think I just kind of assess the books and decide that it's okay to say I'm not enjoying them and get rid of them if I'm not enjoying them. And knowing that sometimes you bought a book thinking you're going to love it, and then actually if like 3 years go by and you're just not interested anymore, that's okay too, and maybe you'll read the synopsis in another 3 years and want it, and that's fine. So when I first started doing it, ended up having a pile of books that I thought I might go back to that I kept in my loft, so that I didn't feel like I had to rebuy them if I did decide that I wanted them. But over time I found that I hadn't thought about any of them over the like 1.5 years that I've been doing it, and I thought, actually, do you know what, I'm going to give these to charity. They weren't books that were like hard to find or super expensive, and most of the time they weren't really new books either, because the new ones I was picking up being really buzzy and buying them and everyone was talking about them, so they left my life, and I don't think I could tell you what any of them were now, so that kind of is quite telling for me, and I live quite a lot of my life like that. Like, I think I've rarely been sad I've gotten rid of something that I felt pressure by having, so that's kind of the way I do stuff. I know some people absolutely adore having huge TBRs, and I kind of get the like a personal library and you can pick and choose what you want, and when you're in the mood for reading something you've probably got something that's going to be close to what you want. It's also really good for readathons. I always really struggle with readathons because when you only have 8 books and there's like 10 prompts, you're like, okay, I need to go buy or borrow books to get my way through the readathon. But yeah, I'm really happy with it, and hopefully it's been interesting. I know a few people have been saying they just wanted an update to see where I am, to see whether it's blown up again or whether I've kept it small, and the answer is it's still pretty tiny. Alright, I'll see you guys soon in another video. Bye bye!